Double check. Nope. All right. Quick double check that we're live on Facebook. Sweet. We are live. Facebook doesn't really know what it's doing with the time there, but that's fine. Give it a few seconds. Share. Share to a page. All right. Welcome. All right. So, welcome back to episode 2 of the Jonathan and Nathan show. I'm your host, Jonathan, and
I'm Nathan. What's up, guys?
welcome back. If you guys missed the first episode, we basically just spent some time introducing ourselves, introducing how we got into photography, sharing some photos. This episode, we're going to kind of dive down into what this show is going to look like every other week. I'm going to apologize in advance. I am in a dorm room with a very noisy hall right outside that door. So if you can hear any screams, I'm apologizing in advance. Hopefully this mic doesn't pick that up, but it very well might because I have some great neighbors.
Oh, it's picking it up. All right.
Lovely. Great. So glad. Well, apologize for that anyways.
That's college life for you.
It's yeah, it is what it is. We're making it work while we're here. I'm glad that we're still able to do these while I'm at school, as I'm kind of backed into this little corner here and there's gear everywhere. But yeah, again, super glad we're able to do this. Kind of yep, Josh is letting us know that it very much does pick up all of that. Cool. Maybe I'll have to try turning it down a little bit. I don't know. That probably didn't help much at all. But you know, it's college life. So tonight's kind of going to how tonight's going to look is we're going to talk about some new camera news. So there's a whole list of some fun stuff that's come out in the last 2 weeks that we're going to talk about, including the biggest one is the new Sony Alpha 1. So we're going to talk about how that's like a huge game changer for not only Sony, but really the mirrorless market in general. We're also going to talk about the new Canon SL3. We're going to talk about some really good Sony, Sigma, and Tamron lenses that we're getting right now. We're going to talk about some film stuff. We'll talk about future classes with Sony and also with Olympus with everyone's favorite Mica Miko. And there'll be a few other things we're going to talk about. So grab friends. How are you guys? Hey, Rick. I'm doing well. Nathan, how are you doing?
Fantastic.
And we're going to be live, Rick, for probably 30 minutes to an hour-ish. We're going to be doing this every 2 weeks, every Monday at 5:30, or maybe a few minutes behind if we have technical difficulties, like we are tonight. If you might have noticed, Nathan does not look as beautiful because we're not able to use our Olympus camera because we're having some technical difficulties with that. I had to switch out the camera I'm using because, yeah, learning, we're having a couple issues, but that's just part of learning and progressing in our little show here. However, hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll be able to have everything squared away. And Josh, we can totally get to your question. Josh just asked about Sigma's back order across the country, when they'll be coming back in stock. I believe I have that on my list, so we might be able to talk about it a little bit. Or if not, I can at least share the little bit that I know. In general, most companies don't share a whole lot of stuff with us. A lot of times when new things come out, we find out about it. Like with the Sony Alpha 1 that just came out, the camera shop found out about it the same time the rest of the world did. So, sometimes we know a little bit, sometimes we don't, but we can talk about that later. So, I mean, to get started, we can just jump right into kind of camera news. So we can talk about the new stuff that came out in the last 2 weeks. And what do you think, Nathan? We just jump right into the Sony A1?
Yeah, I think that's the big ticket item on our list here tonight. So
Yeah, I mean, let's jump into it. So Sony Alpha 1, unfortunately don't have any graphics or anything to show you guys, so you'll just have to look at us and hear our voices. But hey, maybe we'll be able to get there eventually. The Sony Alpha 1 is really Sony's completely redesigned new flagship mirrorless camera. People thought it might be people thought it was going to be like the Sony A9 III, excuse me. They decided to just reinvent it, call it the Sony Alpha 1. I'd say because this is like the one camera you would ever need for anything if you decided to buy this camera. Right now, the body is going to retail for $64.99, and we're taking pre-orders already. The estimated release date is March 4th, so we're hoping that we'd be able to ship them out kind of that week or the week after, but definitely get your pre-orders in because I know we probably won't get a whole lot, and they're going to go super, super fast. So Rick, is that pretty close to my Sony A7 II? Not exactly. It is, we'll talk about kind of all of the specs here. Let me quick pull up my spec sheet. But the A1 is going to really be, this is Sony's top of the line camera. It really is kind of for a very select few, because it has a high price point, but it has a lot of things that we've never seen before. So for the gist of the general information, it's a 50.1 megapixel full frame stacked new Exmor CMOS sensor that has integral memory in it. Basically, that's fancy for you have 50 megapixels and it's a stacked sensor. So there's kind of basically there's multiple in there, which is crazy. They're claiming it's going to be 8 times more powerful than their previous engine. So what you're looking at on the A9 II, A7R4, kind of their most updated cameras. Before this camera, they've really completely redesigned their sensor and have gone crazy with it. With that 50 megapixels, that's RAW and JPEG, like every camera. You can do up to 30 frames a second shooting, which means now you can take photos faster than you would record like cinematic video, which is ridiculous because 30 frames per second is just, yeah, it's insane. Honestly, I don't know who would need 30 frames a second, but 30 frames per second. I believe it's in a mechanical shutter too. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember, but that's wild. Also, with that 30 frames per second, you're going to have 120 autofocus calculations per second, which is super crazy. Sony, once again, is just kind of proving why they're at the very top of the leaderboard when it comes to autofocus capabilities, because now they've won up to themselves again, and their autofocus engine is re-pulling autofocus at 120 times each second, which means you are basically never going to lose focus on like anything you're trying to shoot. So that is obviously crazy. It is moving on. It's the world's first 240 frames per second, 9.4 million dot. What is it? XQGA OLED EVF. So your electronic viewfinder, it's the first one ever to be at a 240 frames refresh rate. And also with that, they got rid of blackout when you're taking photos, So that's super huge because if you're taking sports photos, if you're taking action, one of my least favorite things about any camera is when I press the shutter and the whole screen blacks out. So I'm missing the action, you know? Basically, they've gotten rid of that. And the best way to describe it is if like you're looking at kind of trying to draw it on like my screen, but it creates like a little black like rectangle at the very edge of the screen. And every time you take that photo, that black like little tiny line just flashes instead of the entire EVF turning off, which means you can take 30 frames per second without actually without missing out on the action. So that's going to be huge for birders, huge for sports, huge for anyone that's doing super high action photography, super fast paced photography, because you don't have to worry about not being able to see. So that's one of my favorite features of that.
I wish I had that camera when I was shooting the hockey game.
Yeah.
That would have
yeah.
been a nice feature to have.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about is a hockey game, which we definitely need to talk about. Once we get through some gear, we can 100% talk about that, because that's some really exciting news. Because also, yeah, part of this we'll talk about kind of some personal photography stuff, what we've been up to as well, which is going to be exciting. Card overload. Yeah, Josh, these cards are going to have you're going to need very big cards. You're going to need very fast cards. That's also why it's taking, I don't want to get this wrong. Is it CF Express? I think that's dual CF Express as well as SD cards. What's the other one? I think it's, don't quote me, I don't remember if it's CF Express or not, but I think so. Regardless, it has dual card slots. Obviously, you expect that at this point for a top of the line camera. And I think you can either do CF Express or SD cards, which means really you're going to want very high capacity CF Express cards if you're shooting at 30 frames per second. With that, you have it's a world's first anti-flicker mechanical and electronic shutter. So like we talked about, there's no blackout. Also, one of the really cool things, and something that I can personally complain about a little bit, because this just recently happened to me. If you've ever taken photos indoors, Nathan, have you ever taken photos indoors and like your shutter speed matches up with like the lighting and it creates like those lines on your photos?
Mm-hmm.
It ruins your photo. Like you can't do anything about it. And I just shot an event for my haul a week ago and checked afterward. And also, this is why you should check your photos. Like in between, I was just running and gunning. Almost every single photo was that way because I had my shutter speed locked at one thing almost the whole time. This camera somehow completely gets rid of that. I'm not sure how they do it. I don't really know this science behind it, but they've completely redesigned that in order to not have that. Thank you, Josh. So Josh said dual SD card, UHS-2, and also CF Express Type A slots. So that's huge because, again, in order for this camera to work really well, and what we always say is your camera is only as fast as your memory cards. If you buy a camera, regardless of if it's at entry level all the way to like the A1, if you buy a cheapo SD card, your camera is going to sit there buffering all the time. Like I always say, your camera is only as fast as your SD card, so always invest in good SD cards. And obviously, you know, if you're even looking at this camera, you're 100% going to need good SD cards. So with that, it does have, it has that anti-distortion electronic shutter. It also has flash sync up to 1/200th of a second in the electronic shutter, which is pretty awesome. For some other stuff, it has the 5-axis image stabilization that really you've come to know and love with all of Sony's full frame lineup. Nothing really has changed there because there's no need to reinvent the wheel when they've already mastered stabilization. Other than that, it has Wi-Fi. Anyone interested in video, it shoots 8K up to 30 frames per second. And also, I feel like a lot of what they did in this camera kind of one-upped Canon's R5 a little bit. I think this is why Sony waited, is because they had the R5 come out and then they kind of one-upped them. So the like for example, the R5 can shoot 8K for 20 minutes. Sony decided to let you shoot 8K for 30 minutes. So they kind of just like one up them a little bit. The R5 is 45 megapixels, so Sony made theirs 50 megapixels. So somehow Sony just decided to kind of one up Canon with a lot of this camera. Not saying that the R5 is bad. The R5 is a ridiculous camera, and so is this. They're both amazingly good cameras. I just think it's a little. I kind of chuckled a little bit when I read the spec sheet when I was watching the first release video for it, because it seemed like everything they did, they just tried to kind of one up Canon a little bit. Besides that, I mean, there's a lot of stuff with it. There's a lot that goes into it. They have this kind of dual processing engine for a lot of stuff. They have the continuous shooting, the silent shooting, blackout free shooting. They fixed the flicker free electronic and mechanical shutters, which is really nice with an electronic shutter. Because personally, when I'm shooting events, I like to use my electronic shutter so you can't hear anything. Because the worst is when you're trying to get a candid shot and they hear a click and everyone looks over at the camera. Because then you're like, well, if I didn't get that photo, I'm not going to get any more, because now people know there's a camera there. So I love electronic shutter in my Sony. But again, if you don't have the right shutter speed, then you can get that distortion.
The other thing is the new menus, which I know you talked about a lot, and how much you was like the one thing about Sony that you weren't a big fan of. When you switched.
I mean, yeah, 100%. I definitely like Sony cameras. It's why I have one, because I do a lot of videos and photo stuff, and I think they'd work. Sony does those both very well. I also like the ecosystem of the amount of lenses they have across Sigma and Sony, and also Tamron. However, the biggest thing I don't like about Sony, and what most people don't like about Sony, is their menu system. With the A1, they completely redesigned that, and we can all keep our fingers crossed that hopefully they'll give a firmware update to the rest of us who don't want to buy the A1 and still let us share that. But they did completely redesign the menu system. It looks very similar now to some of the other big names, and it actually makes sense. It's super intuitive now. Like it looks amazing, and again, I'm really hoping they just give me a firmware update, because I was just talking to Nathan as we were trying to set up the Sony camera last minute for this video. It took me way too long to figure out where the HDMI output settings were, because they weren't in the spot you'd think they were in. Yeah, Josh says he's a Canon guy himself. Can't wait for the Olympics so we can see the new Canon. Oh yeah. I'm excited to just see all of the glass they're going to come out with, everything. The Olympics is always great because it always brings out a lot of good in the camera industry as well, because it's the first time you really get to see all of these cameras kind of battle head to head a little bit, to see the top of the line from every manufacturer. So I think, yeah, I'm excited for that as well. Josh also said, same, I'm borderline changing from Canon, mind overload reading bodies lately. Well, Josh, feel free to message me if you have any questions about what you want to look into, or visit Nathan and Craig at the camera shop. They can totally hook you up with something. If you're is there anything specific that you're looking for from Canon? What are you thinking of switching to? And also kind of let us know like why you want to switch from Canon, and we can circle back around and answer some questions for you. But yeah, to move on kind of from that, well, I mean, sticking with Sony, the other thing we mentioned is at the camera shop, which you can probably talk about this, Nathan, if you want a little bit. Kind of the lens selection we have right now.
Yeah. We did just get in today. a few hard to get lenses. The Sigma Art 24 to 70 2.8 for Sony. We've sold a bunch of those past 2 weeks, and they're not easy to get. But we have, I think we got 2 or 3 in today, and I know we got a call on one already today. So those are going quick. So if you're looking for one of those, we have them right now. Come see us and pick one up. Other than that, we did, if you want to go into the Canon SL, we did just get 2 of those in, which is a kind of a beginner setup, similar to the Rebel, but has a little bit better specs than the Rebel.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's kind of, it is that step up from the T7. Has features like the microphone jack. It is not necessarily more video oriented, but it has some more video features as well. So it's kind of that good level of you're just starting out, but don't necessarily want to go all the way to beginner, maybe want that little step up, want those extra features, something you can kind of grow into a little more. The SO3 is a really solid option because it is only $699 with the kit lens, so it comes with the 18 to 55. It uses the EF lenses, which Canon already has a plethora of EF lenses, as well as Sigma has lenses for that mount. So no, we carry a lot of glass in that lineup. So it's a really solid option. Anyone getting starting out, as well as for that next step, really. But yeah,
the next big thing is film. We got a ton of film in recently, and I know over the next year it's going to be pretty hard to get film. There's a big back order. They're running out of certain chemicals for some of the films, and some films won't even come back at all because the minerals used to make the film, it's just like running out on our planet. So they just were like, all right, well, we can't make this kind of film anymore. But anyways, we got Ilford HP5 in, which is one of my favorite films to shoot with. The only downside to this is we at the camera shop do not develop this because it's not C41. But we do have the XP2 from Ilford, which is C41 black and white. So we can develop this guy, which is cool. Some people don't know that Ilford has the C41 black and white.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are in now, and we ordered a ton of film, kind of gearing up, knowing that it's going to be a while till we can get it again.
Gotcha.
So come see us if you're film people for sure, because it will be running low soon.
Yeah, that's what I gathered as well. As I mean, I know we have a really good stock. We normally keep a good stock, but it seems like, yeah, we're kind of getting a lot more. So we can try to last and have film available. We also have really good prices on film because we keep the same prices as retail price for everything. So we have the competitively priced film. As well as, if you guys didn't know, we also have a huge selection of gently used film cameras and lenses. So if it's a new hobby you want to get into, or if you've been doing it for a while and you just want to see what we have, you can feel free to come in. If you want to pick up a new lens to try out some different angles, if you want to completely get into film as a hobby in general, you can do everything here. You can get your camera, you can get your lens, you can get your film, and then we can develop the film for you. Which with developing film, you can either get prints or you can put it digitally, so you can have your photos on your computer, post to social media, all of that. And
to add to that, we are extending the film Tuesdays into February. So if you
tell us about that.
If you bring in a roll of film, you'll get a free roll of Kodak Gold 24 exposure. film for free. So just bring in a roll of film to get developed, pay for the developing costs, and you'll get a free roll to shoot. Shoot it in a week, and you can keep doing that cycle this month every Tuesday.
Sweet. So every Tuesday, for each roll of film you bring in to be developed, you get a free roll of Kodak Gold 200.
Yep, 24 exposure.
24 exposure. Perfect. Sweet. I mean, that's a sweet deal because you get free film just for developing your film anyways.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty sweet. Josh also asked a few minutes ago if we have a 500 f4, it's sold. Josh, is that Canon EF you're looking for? I don't know if we have a 500 f4. We can look that up. Let us know exactly what one you're looking for, and we can definitely look to see if we have one. But so moving on, from film, also we don't have exact dates yet. I think I actually just received an email before we went live here. However, keep watching on our Facebook page. Look on our Eventbrite because we're going to have some live events with Barrett from Sony this month. I think we'll probably have at least one. So look out for that if you want to learn more about Sony cameras, if you want to learn how to use your Sony camera, if you're just doing research because you might want to buy a Sony camera. I would definitely check those out because those are completely free. It's only an hour of your time. And Barrett's a really good teacher that you'll learn a ton from. As well as that, we also will have another coffee with Olympus, so with Mike Amico for the month of February. We're locking down the date for that as well, so just keep a lookout for that. We had one last Friday that went well. I believe we were going, I forget exactly what we went over. I think it was landscape photography, intro to landscape photography, I remember. I think this month is going to be macro photography. And with that, even if you don't shoot Olympus, you can still join in on that. Obviously, Mike will talk about macro with Olympus cameras, but he's also going to give you plenty of tips and tricks of just how to shoot macro photography in general. So even if you don't have an Olympus camera, you can totally join in for that. So those are some of the events that we're going to have this month, as well as we'll have, this is episode 2 of the Jonathan and Nathan show. I think what we'll also have episode, I haven't switched my calendar yet. Aha. I think we'll have one more. Yeah. The 15th, we'll have episode 3. So we'll do these every 2 weeks again at 5:30. So come back every 2 weeks, to kind of hear about this. Other than that, moving on, yeah, Nathan, do you want to talk about our Still Life Studios as kind of a product of this episode? Yeah, go ahead.
So we got 3 sizes, a small, a medium, and a large. It's what we use personally to shoot all of our product that we sell on eBay and on our online store. They have, I think, 3 or 4 different color sets that come inside. We use the white, but they are amazing for product photography. I mean, you put your subject in there and it's clear and bright. Like I said, we have 3 different sizes, so come check them out. We have one set up inside the store at all times, so if you want to test it out, we can do that. Just to see what it feels like to shoot inside of a still life tent. Yeah,
that's great, and I think that's kind of a good segue as well into that. Like Nathan said, we have one set up 24/7 because we use one for our online website. So if you didn't know, I'd assume you'd know kind of because you're at least here on Facebook, but we do have social media. We have a website, we have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, we have an Eventbrite, but we also have a full website where we post all of our used gear. That also goes on eBay, but probably the easiest way to find it is on our website, which we have plenty of stock that you guys haven't even seen yet. So really every day, almost, Nathan is working on getting more and more products uploaded.
Yeah, I probably upload around 5 to 10 new items a day,
Yeah.
roughly.
Okay.
So keep checking back because I mean we're getting tons of film stuff in, we're getting tons of
Absolutely.
digital stuff in. I know there's a Nikon D750 that will be going a used one going up soon with
Oh.
a very low shutter count,
Mm.
which is pretty awesome.
Which is huge. Yeah.
That's the camera I use. I love it. So to get a used one with that low of a shutter count, I think it was only like 4,000.
Oh, wow.
Um, I'm unsure what the price will be on that yet, but it will be going up this week on our store. Trying to think of a couple other ones. We got a ton of film cameras right now, in awesome shape. I wish I could buy them all personally, but other than that, our other big special this month is 50% off 12 by 18 prints. That can either be from an SD card or your phone. So I think they're normally like $18.99. So it's $9.50 for a 12 by 18 print, which is a steal of a deal for that size of a print. And if you haven't printed with us before, the quality is amazing.
Yeah. 100%. Also, Josh, okay, Josh did say yes. I think my question was, this a Canon EF mount, 500?
Yeah.
So that lens is definitely a lens we normally have to special order. We don't normally stock that. So I know we don't have one in stock unless we have, and I didn't know. Do we have one in stock?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay. So definitely I'd say stop by the store or just
Yep.
give us a call. And we can talk about getting that ordered for you. Because it's a fairly special lens. I know a lot of people are normally looking for it. It's probably back order a little bit. But that's just my guess. So don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure how long it would take for us to get one to you. But just give us a call, stop by, and we can definitely get you set up and on the way to that, because that is a fantastic lens. That's a really, really nice lens. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, we have that great sale on prints. It's a really good time to just, if you've never printed your photos before, start. Printing photos is something that I personally didn't do for a long time, and have in the last like year started to print my photos. And it's very different just seeing your photos physically, like instead of just on a phone or a computer or in the camera. Like having an actual physical photo is a completely different feeling than digitally. I mean, I am looking at a big metal print of one of my favorite photos I've ever taken that just recently got done and hung up. And it looks super nice. And I also have another, well, no, you can see the last bottom inch of that photo, but another print of from the shop of one of my other favorite photos. So printing your work is super fun and really cool. Honestly, I really like the feeling of like you getting that print and actually seeing your photo in real life instead of just digitally. It's really cool. So this is a perfect time if you've never done it before, because you have a super great deal. So you might as well just try it and just see what you like. It's also a great deal because you can try out different finishes. So you can be like, yeah, let's get one in glossy and matte, because it'd be the same price as getting a regular priced one in any other month. So then you can see, what you like for printing to kind of zero in of how you want to keep printing your photos. Other than that, Nikon, actually some news from Nikon. They announced that total they're going to have 29 Z lenses. So this is for their mirrorless lineup, their full frame mirrorless lineup. That means that if you do the math, they're saying they're going to be releasing 11 Z lenses this year, which is huge. That's a lot of lenses. We really don't have, I mean, there's definitely on the rumor mills plenty of ideas of what they could be, what some of them could be. But definitely keep a lookout for those. Anyone that shoots Nikon, anyone that's interested in the mirrorless full frame system, you're going to have 29 lenses from just Nikon alone, which is amazing for a relatively new system. That's a lot of lenses out really, really quickly, which I think is super cool. So definitely just put that on the back burner. Think about that as you're working on getting new cameras or whatever, working with the camera you already have. 11 lenses from Nikon this year, which is, I think, is going to be pretty cool because we haven't really seen a ton from them in the last year. So I think that's going to be huge. Other than that's kind of like the main camera news stuff. A decent amount happened in the last 2 weeks. I mean, the Sony Alpha 1 obviously kind of takes the cake of the biggest thing to come out so far this year. It'll probably be one of the biggest cameras to come out for a while. We'll see what if Sony also comes out with maybe that A7 IV that's rumored this year, kind of hoping. But we'll see what else they do. As well as I think they're continuing to come out with lenses for it. I personally am really hoping that Sigma finally gives us that 70-200 f2.8 for Sony cameras. If you guys know me, you know I personally use Sigma lenses, and I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that 70-200 2.8 because every other camera brand has it right now. And Sigma just hasn't done it for Sony yet. And I love Sigma lenses for the affordability, the clarity, the build quality. So I want to continue to use Sigma lenses. But man, they're starting to make me consider that like double the price Sony G Master one just because I'm ready for a 70-200.
Right.
But I mean, speaking of 70-200, I say we transition into you kind of talking about the hockey game because I know you used one of our a Sigma 70-200, right, for that game.
Yep.
It's kind of like, tell us one how like that even came up. Like, how does a photographer just fill in and then eventually now be a part of the media team for the hockey team? So yeah, kind of share that story with us.
So I have a good friend that works in the front office for the Lumberjacks.
Okay.
And I also know their full-time photographer, Ryan Miller. Some of you may know him too. He's a local photographer. He's super talented. But he shoots for him pretty much every game, but he had to miss a game for another shoot or something. And so they both hit me up and they're like, you want to shoot on Saturday? I was like, yeah, but I don't really have a lens for sports. It's the first time I ever shot like live action sports.
Yeah.
So I talked to Craig and he's like, yeah, try this out. And so I tried it out and man, that thing is a beast.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I got to shoot for him. And after the game, they saw my work and my photos. They're like, just hold on to that media badge and come back any game you want.
That's awesome. I was
like, okay, that sounds great.
That's so cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And we should have had photos to show from that because I think I don't even know if I've seen your photos yet. I think I saw maybe one of them, maybe.
Yeah, there's one.
I think there's one in your story, right?
Yeah, there's one in your email as well. If you do want to pull it up. I sent it as one of the sensational shots, I believe.
Okay, let's see. Wait. All right, let's see if I can do. I'm also still learning StreamYard as well, which is what we use to stream. So I apologize in advance that this might take me a quick second.
Well, yeah, more about the game. I mean, they let me go wherever I wanted, and it was the first game that they were allowing fans in the stands, obviously distance and everything, COVID protocols, but So that was fun and exciting to, you know, somewhat feel normal again. But yeah, this is a shot from the game went into shootout overtime, which we unfortunately lost
Hmm.
to the U17 USA national team. But yeah, I mean, I just love this shot because he's drawing the puck across the goalie, and I believe this is one of the ones that we scored in the shootout. I wish I knew the player's name.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I really like this shot. I think it captures the action very well. I mean, you really got it in the perfect moment. I think that's really cool. And
Yeah, I
like
mean,
the
for
way
my
you put
first
it.
time ever shooting sports, I think I did a pretty good job. I was happy with the results, and honestly, without that lens, I don't think I would have been able to nail it with my 70 to 120. At least some of these shots, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's really cool. What else have you been doing in kind of your photography world? I guess we can kind of start to wrap up, share some stories about what we've been doing recently as photographers. Kind of share that every 2 weeks as well with these episodes. As well as if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us in the last 15 or so minutes of this. We'll answer as many questions as you guys ask. So feel free to do those as we share our stories. But is there anything else you've been up to besides doing that hockey game?
I've been shooting a lot of film actually.
Okay.
It's kind of how I started out in college. They forced us to start with film, and then we moved to digital. And I hadn't really touched it that much, except for maybe like a roll here and there over the past like 6 years.
Okay.
And I've shot like 7 or 8 rolls in the past 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
I got to get a lot of it developed still, but I'm really excited to get back into film. There's nothing like film, and it's just like it's such a raw feeling of shooting film. And eventually, I want to get my own darkroom where I can develop it myself.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
If you've developed film, you know how meditative of a process that is, and I cannot wait to get back into that as well.
That's awesome.
What about you? What's good?
Yeah, so I mean, film's kind of taken the back burner a little bit for me. If some of you guys remember, I started shooting film a couple weeks before I left for school. Like I don't think I'm through. What am I at right now? I'm through. I've taken 13 photos with this roll of film.
Is that the portrait?
This is not the portrait. I'm saving the portrait for a
You
very
still haven't shot the
special
portrait.
Wait. Have I shot the No, I did shoot the portrait. I got the portrait photos back actually.
Okay.
Those I think I put on my Facebook. I realized oh, and the lighthouse photo that I posted last week, I think, on the camera shops pages
Yep.
was a portrait.
Okay.
I really like the portrait. However, 400 is a little dark. I found
Yeah.
out, like, as opposed to the
800.
well, I haven't shot 800. What was the
Okay.
one that I was shooting before? Something max?
T Max.
T max maybe? Yeah. What is this stuff? The whatever that's nope, that's dark. You're not gonna be able to see that. I don't know. Whatever Kodak, is it Kodak Gold for? I don't remember. Anyways, so
Well,
I
I mean,
actually like it.
Yeah, there's gold, and then there's the Ultra Max, and then
Ultra Max. I think it was Ultra Max 400.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was darker than the Ultra Max 400. But I do like the colors. I think more of Portra. I think they're more true, whereas the Ultra Max gave me more of like more browns and oranges. Whereas a Portra was more of a neutral color, which I think I like. But that portrait, I have a roll of Portrait 800, and I'm saving for a very special shoot. That'll be like 100% we go out to shoot film. Not I bring the camera along to capture while I'm doing digitally.
Right.
So I've only taken 13 photos with the roll that I started 2 weeks ago, and that's been kind of a mix of stuff, different places. I can share kind of the two projects I've done. Maybe if it lets me share my screen. Sure. There we go. So if you see this, this is, I think this has already been posted. So many of you who follow our account will have already seen this. But this was a long exposure that I took of the park that's like 5 minutes from my university.
That's awesome.
I was really surprised. This is a photo I've waited to take since I first saw this park. It was the first time I'd really gone out in the snow. Most of the time, like I go out in the fall because fall's my favorite time to shoot. So I love all the warm tones. However, all the leaves fall and it like plugs up the waterfall. So the waterfall is never filled during fall. Like you have to get up on the waterfall and like brush off all the leaves if you want to do it. And I never have time to do that. So there's only one time that I've ever gotten a photo of like a full waterfall. And it was like way down. I was like way down on those rocks. So it just didn't really turn out. But this one was up on a bridge that goes over this gorge. And I was able to do it like the correct way with the tripod, ND filter, everything. And I'm super happy with it turned out because it has just enough, just enough. I think it was maybe a 10-second exposure. So it's just enough that it's misty, but not like completely gone. So overall, yeah, I was happy with that. This was, I went out and shot with a friend. So I got some portrait photos as well. So overall, that was like a fun day, fun morning of shooting there.
Is that with your Sony?
Yep, that's with the Sony. So that's A7R4 with the Sigma 24-70 lens. That's kind of my go-to setup for landscape and portraits. I also have the 100-400 lens, which I'm actually going to use tomorrow for a special kind of portrait, which I'll quick talk about in a second. But the second to completely like switch gears to something totally different, business headshots, if this application will load. So business headshots, like fully lit business headshots, are something that I've been trying to play around with. I've done a couple of times since I've been here, just practicing because I want to figure out how to do them well. So then I can start charging for them. I can add that to my business. So this was my second attempt. If you guys know Kenny Heckheis, he's our store ambassador, super great photographer. He's totally the lighting guy. So I took first round of like the same location, the setup, trying to do my way where I had the key light and then the hair light behind. It was just super shadowy. It was too dark. It didn't really work well. So we ended up using still two lights. There's a key, but then the hair light is kind of like right off to the side here. And then there's a reflector down here to get rid of to keep some of the shadows, but get rid of most of the shadows. So it's still lit well. And I'm a lot more I still have a little bit more to go, but I'm a lot more pleased with how these ones turned out as opposed to my first try. But so this was something completely different. I have not done a whole lot of like portraiture where I'm using lighting. So it's something super different that I'm trying. But no, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's been fun to mess around with a little bit.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, thank you. So then the other thing is tomorrow I'm gonna try paint powder photography.
Ooh. You were talking about this before you left. I'm excited.
Yeah, so I think we mentioned in episode 1. I was waiting for it to snow enough. We finally have enough snow. The goal is to have the model wear all black, so they super contrast against the white snow, and then basically gonna have like the paint powder you see at like color runs, stuff like that. Those like color run parties and stuff where they're throwing the paint everywhere. Basically gonna be that, but it's gonna be like high speed photography. So we'll have them like clap and then capture all the particles as it's exploding, throwing it different ways. I have no clue how it's going to turn out yet. I think I'm going to try using my 100 to 400 lens and do it like all the way at 400. So it has a ton of really nice compression, because we found like a super long straight road we're going to have as a backdrop just to have those leading lines pull into the subject.
Right.
So I don't know how it's going to turn out quite yet.
It'll be sweet.
But yeah, I'm hoping it turns out well, and I think it'll be something fun that I haven't tried.
As long as you get one shot, that's all you need.
Yeah. If I get one shot, like, that's it. I don't know how many tries I have. I have the bag over there. I got like a variety pack of paint powder. I don't remember. I think I'm gonna also try, like, instead of doing 2 handfuls of paint powder, I think I'm gonna do like a handful of paint powder and a handful of snow and have them like clap and see if it'll add white.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
See if it'll like, like cut down on the cost of the paint, because I don't have to do as much paint powder, and also see if it'll still kind of explode enough that you'll get a cool photo. Who knows? We'll see. We're gonna play around with it. Hopefully tomorrow. I have that scheduled, but also it's really close to, like, I think it's during golden hour, so we might not have enough light and we might have to come back to do it. But yeah, so that's kind of what's been up with me photography wise. Obviously, school and jobs and stuff, unfortunately, have to take a bit of a priority, so I can't shoot as much as I would like to, but still been able to shoot a decent amount. So I'm still getting that photography fix enough that I'm not going stir crazy. But yeah, other than that, looks like we don't have any questions for tonight, which is totally fine. So we'll kind of start to wrap up. No, there was a ton of information, lots of fun new stuff coming out. We're always a resource for you guys, whether you message us. If you message us on Facebook or Instagram, that'll probably go to me. If not, you can call the store, visit the store, and you'll be able to see Nathan or Craig. And regardless, one of us will always be able to be there to answer any questions you have, gear related. If you want just help on how to do certain kinds of photography, if you want to send us photos to be critiqued, whatever. Our whole point for kind of this show specifically, and just in general, is we want to be that resource there for you guys, for whatever help you need, or whatever kind of, your friends at the camera shop, just for advice. So with that being said, this was episode 2 of the Jonathan and Nathan show. If you join us in 2 weeks again, so the 14th, 15th, the 15th at 5:30, we will do our best to be right on the dot at 5:30 this time. Hopefully we'll have everything set up correctly. But
is that Valentine's Day?
Wait, is that Valentine's Day?
I was just thinking of that, dude.
Hey, no, 14th is Valentine's Day.
Okay,
right?
Perfect. We're good. I'm good with the fiance then.
I don't know if I know what. Yeah, that wouldn't be ideal. Valentine's Day is February 14th.
Perfect.
I feel like I should know that.
Yeah, for real.
Always the same day. But especially you should know that you have a fiance.
I know.
But hey, no, it's fine. So it's the day after you.
Perfect.
So join us back. We'll always talk about kind of camera news, what's going on at the camera shop, what's going on with us. This is kind of the hour to hang out with the guys from the shop, to again answer any questions, just have a good time. So thank you for joining us. I've been Jonathan.
And I'm Nathan.
And we'll see you next time.